If you don't want to end up writing a check that your bank can't cash, never do this to a repair shop. Hey y'all, thanks for tuning back into Chickanic. I hope everybody's having a great week. I have a doozy in the shop today, and I thought I would bring y'all along to hopefully save y'all some time, money, and frustration in the future. Now, most of y'all know I closed my storefront down that we had for 12 years last year, and we moved our entire repair shop to a 40 by 50 building at the house. Now, since we are at my home in a neighborhood, I don't want strangers coming here, so I only let family, friends, and my commercial people come. Other than that, we do free pickup and delivery for everybody in the surrounding area. But I had a friend call me and he asked, could I drop off a mower for my preacher? And I'm like, yeah, sure, that's fine. You can come to my house. Didn't think anything about it. Told him that we are open 9 to 4, Monday through Friday. Come anytime. Next morning at 8:14, I get a phone call. He's outside dropping off a mower. I'm in my garage getting my workout on. And I'm like, that's cool, dude. Just leave it in my driveway. And that is where I messed up. You see, I didn't look at the mower before he dropped it off. Didn't talk to the owner of the mower. Had no idea what was wrong with it. But now that I do, I probably would have refused to work on it. So we'll start by what the customer told me when he called to give me, what's wrong with the mower. First, he said it starts and dies. When he sprays it with starting fluid, he can get it to start. Okay. And then he says, but also you have to jump the solenoid to get it to start. Okay. He said that there's a tire going flat, so it needs to be tubed. He had already put in a new plug, a new battery, a new solenoid, and a new fuel filter. He also wants it sharpened and serviced. Now, after all that, okay, I start asking him, what was going on while you were trying to repair it? Did you ever get it to start and actually run? He said no, it would just start and die. And then I realized where this conversation's going, and I have that question that I have to ask. Have you ever ran this mower? Is it your mower? Did somebody give it to you? Do you know anything about this mower at all? About its backstory? No, somebody gave it to the church. Oh, God. So then I go out and I look at the mower. And guys, we got a Troy-bilt Mustang 50-inch cut here. Yeah, it's an MTD Troy-bilt. And everything looks pretty good until we get over here. What's going on here? It looks a little melted. Not sure what's going on with that. He didn't say anything about it getting close to a fire. So here's the problem. Now it could be an extremely simple fix. It could just be some carburetor work, maybe a little electrical, and it'll run just fine. But I've had this scenario play out many, many times. Usually customers do not let you know that they had the mower given to them. The person that gave them to them said, oh, it runs fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It just sat. But most of the time when things have sat for a long time, there's a reason that they sat. There's a reason that that person's not selling that mower. So about 80% of the time when I have a mower come into the shop that somebody had given to them, it always ends up having more issues. So we could get the electrical fixed, get the carburetor cleaned out, go to try to run it, and the transmission's not work. We could go to engage the blade, and the spindle bearings be out. When you're going in blind, you don't know how much that bill's gonna be. So guys, cross your fingers with me today because I'm hoping that this doesn't end up being a money pit mower. So let's start assessing the damage. Now, he said he put a new fuel filter on there, but that ain't new. What does look new is a new fuel pump. But he didn't finish attaching it, and it's kinking the breather tube right there, so we'll need to address that. And it does look aftermarket. I'm not keen on aftermarket fuel pumps. I just opened the air filter cover and this bolt fell out. I'm assuming it's one of the shroud bolts here that both of them are missing. And the air filter is pretty much almost dust. This thing's been sitting a long time. Yeah, that's gross. Let's take a look under this deck. Okay. Oh, great. So the bad part about it is this is supposed to have a bracket that goes all the way around here. Obviously, it's been used as a bush hog, and this bracket is gone. This is notorious with these mowers, And so that's like stabilizes the whole deck. Eventually, if it keeps hitting stuff like it is now, see it starts bending in on itself, then the blades start hitting. And if we look under here, let me turn that blade around a little bit. Oh Lord, something feels crunchy. Blades are completely gone, needs to be replaced. The fins on them are completely broke off on all of them. From what I can see of the belt, it doesn't look that bad, but I'm gonna go ahead and release it so I can spin these spindles around and see if they feel crunchy. So, taking a look at the top of this deck, this is your idler pulley arm, and it should be able to move back a little bit to get this belt loose, and it is stuck like chuck. In fact, it is digging into the top of the deck here because I think it might be bent. So needless to say, something is locked up under this deck. Nothing will turn. All right, so I'm gonna remove this spring so hopefully I can release the tension on my idler arm. Gotta get a good grip here. There we go. All right, so now I've got this where I can get the belt off, but I do want to show you something before I continue. And this is something you need to check every year when you go to start your rider or zero turn up. When they sit over a period of time, your belt will get stuck like chuck inside your pulley. And when you go to start it up and engage it, you will break it instantaneously because it's stuck. And so it'll put a ton of torque on the engine, sometimes kill your engine or break your belt. Like this one right here, it's really stuck in this groove of this pulley. So something you want to check before you go to engage everything. Loosen everything up, turn your pulleys, make sure everything's going smoothly. Now, first thing I want to show you now that the idler pulley is released, it's spinning and sounds pretty good. So check, one idler pulley doesn't need to be replaced. We go back to this idler pulley and it sounds good. Let's look underneath. So I was lifting it up, I just noticed this caster wheel has been welded back on. All right, let's see if we can get these blades off. Everything's still connected, so I can't spin it yet, but I did. The star looks good on that one. Star looks good on that one. Whoa. And the last. And the star looks good on that one. Alright, now that I've got that undone, if I can bring the belt loose, this pulley and spindle's fine. Try to rock it back and forth. No, it feels good. This one here, got the belt loose, spin it, sounds fine, doesn't rock back and forth. Spindles might be good. Next thing to check is the transmissions. Now this would be a deal breaker if they were leaking, but thankfully there is nothing coming out of either one of them. So that's a good sign. Let's check what's going on with his electrical. Now the customer did say that he had an ignition switch ordered, which I told him wait on it because I'm not sure if that's your issue or not. He thought it was because it was only starting whenever he would jump the solenoid, but whenever you jump the solenoid, it bypasses everything, your safety switches and all that. So there's no way to know exactly if it is your ignition switch or not. But the reason he might have thought that his ignition switch wasn't working or doing anything is, I don't know what's going on here. First, the negative came apart from its ground. When he put his new solenoid on, it looks like it's either cross-threaded or broke, one of the two. And on top of that, this is the fuse right here. This is supposed to connect under there so it actually will work your ignition switch. So, I don't know, it wasn't hooked up. So let me see if I can figure this out. First thing, he's gonna need a battery cable end, so Oh, I got this from Harbor Freight. You can get them off Amazon. It's a battery crimping tool, and you cannot just twist the wire and put it back in the battery cable end. It's not going to stay there, guys, like he had his. All right, I've got his ground reconnected. I've reconnected this wire, giving it power back to the ignition switch, so let's see if it works. Hey, it works. All right, so I'm gonna try to start it. I'm gonna throw some little spray in it, give it a good go, and let's see if she pops off. Well, battery might be low. Come on. Yeah. Let me grab the jumper. Put her up here. Connection. All right. Another little spray here. Let's see. It definitely has some potential, boys. Oh yeah. Well, so far we've gotten pretty lucky with this one. The deck looks like, other than the part that's missing, that we can weld another bracket on that. That's not that big of an issue. The electrical issue is solved. It will start if I have fuel going to the engine, but right now I can tell from that air filter it is set for a long time. And here's how I also can tell that it's not getting any gas. On the bottom of these carburetors, it has a fuel shutoff solenoid that you will hear click, and it will engage, or disengage, and it will let the gas come through. And to see if it's clicking or not, you'll just turn your ignition switch a little bit and not start it, but just turn it a little bit and it should click. It ain't clicking at all. What you can do, you can put your hand down there, also feel the bottom of your bolt and actually feel if it's clicking, and it doesn't work. So it's stuck like Chuck. So it definitely needs the carburetor gone through. Hopefully it doesn't need a new carburetor. We're definitely gonna try to kit it first. We'll know more once we tear it apart. But one more thing is concerning. I just noticed this wire on the muffler. And it looks like the muffler's just bouncing around down there. That's not good. So yeah, there's a lot of things we got to look through before we decide if this is going to be worth it or not. So far it's looking good, but you never know what you come across. So I'm going to make this a two-parter. I'm going to go into the fuel system next. We're going to get it running probably, and then we're going to find out if the transmissions and the PTO both work, because those are two other things that could definitely be wrong and be very expensive in the long run. Now let's break down the price to where we know we are at this point, and you tell me, would you gamble on this mower?
So here's what we know so far. The customer installed a battery, an aftermarket fuel pump, and a solenoid. And we know it needs blades, a tube and install, air filter, fuel filter, oil change, 2 spark plugs, and a custom deck weld. So far, we're at $297 invested into this mower. And although the deck fortunately was in good shape, because usually when we run into these kind of mowers, all the spindles are blown out, and that would have been another $300. We fortunately got away cheap on the deck. Now, it could possibly need a carburetor for $323, a carburetor kit for $138. We're not sure on the muffler yet until we dig in. Then once we get it running, we'll have to find out if the PTO even works. If it doesn't, that's $220. And then once we get it running and moving, we'll have to see if the transmissions even work, and they're $1,275 each. And we haven't even got to labor. Already we're at $160 for what we know it needs. Who knows how high it can get to.
So far, this hasn't been a money pit mower, but we'll see what happens in the next video. So guys, thanks again for tuning into Chickanic. If you find yourself coming back over and over again to my videos, think about hitting that subscribe button. It helps out the algorithm to make my videos shown to more people, to save them time, money, and frustration in the future. If you haven't found me at Facebook, find me at facebook.com/Chickanic. Find me on Instagram at TheRealChickanic, or find me at Chickanic.com, where you can get your own t-shirts, hoodies, and long sleeve shirts. Thanks guys, and have a great day.